crisis happened. The stock market and the economy went up rather than going down. And I lost so much money for myself and for my clients that I had to shut down my operation. Pretty much had to let almost everybody go. These were like extended family, and it was heartbroken. And I had lost so much money that I had to borrow $4,000 from my dad to help to pay my family bills. It was one of the most painful experiences of my life. But it turned out to be one of the greatest experiences of my life because it changed my attitude about decision making. Rather than thinking I'm right, I started to ask myself, how do I know I'm right? I gained a humility that I needed in order to balance with my audacity. I wanted to find the smartest people who would disagree with me to try to understand their perspective or to have them stress test my perspective. I wanted to make an idea meritocracy. In other words, not an autocracy in which I would lead and others would follow, and not a democracy in which everybody's points of view were equally valued, but I wanted to have an idea meritocracy in which the best ideas would win out. And in order to do that, I realized that we would need radical truthfulness and radical transparency. What I mean by radical truthfulness and radical transparency is people needed to say what they really believed and to see everything. And we literally take almost all conversations and let everybody see everything, because if we didn't do that, we couldn't really have an idea meritocracy. In order to have an idea meritocracy, we have to let people speak and say what they want. Just to give you an example, this is an email from Jim Haskell, who somebody works for me, and this was available to everybody in the company. Ray, you deserve a D- for your performance today in the meeting. You did not prepare it all well because there was no way you could have been that disorganized. Isn't that great? That's great. It's great because, first of all, I needed feedback like that. I need feedback like that. And it's great because if I don't let Jim and people like Jim to express their points of view, our relationship wouldn't be the same. If I didn't make that public for everybody to see, we wouldn't have an idea meritocracy. So for the last 25 years, that's how we've been operating. We've been operating with this radical transparency and then collecting these principles largely from making mistakes and then embedding those principles into algorithms. And then those algorithms provide, we follow the algorithms in parallel with our thinking. That has been how we run the investment business, and it's how we also deal with the people management. In order to give you a glimmer into what this looks like, I'd like to take you into a meeting and introduce you to a tool of ours called the dot collector that helps us do this. A week after the U.S. election, our research team held a meeting to discuss what a Trump presidency would mean for the U.S. economy. Naturally, people had different opinions on the matter and how we were approaching the discussion. The dot collector collects these views. It has a list of a few dozen attributes, so whenever somebody thinks something about another person's thinking, it's easy for them to convey their assessment. They simply note the attribute and provide a rating from 1 to 10. For example, as the meeting began, a researcher named Jen rated me a 3. In other words, badly, for not showing a good balance of open-mindedness and assertiveness. As the meeting transpired, Jen's assessments of people added up like this. Others in the room have different opinions. That's normal. Different people are always going to have different opinions. And who knows who's right? Let's look at just what people thought about how I was doing. Some people thought I did well, others poorly. With each of these views, we can explore the thinking behind the numbers. Here's what Jen and Larry said. Note that everyone gets to express their thinking, including their critical thinking, regardless of their position in the company. Jen, who's 24 years old and right out of college, can tell me, the CEO, that I'm approaching things terribly. This tool helps people both express their opinions and then separate themselves from their opinions to see things from a higher level. shift their attentions from inputting their own opinions to looking down on the whole scheme, their perspective changes. They see their own opinions as just one of many and naturally start asking themselves, how do I know my opinion is right? That shift in perspective is like going from seeing in one dimension to seeing in multiple dimensions. And it shifts the conversation from arguing over our opinions to figuring out objective criteria for determining which opinions are best. Behind the dot collector is a computer that is watching. It watches what all these people are thinking, and it correlates that with how they think. And it communicates advice back to each of them based on that. Then it draws the data from all the meetings to create a pointillist painting of what people are like and how they think. And it does that guided by algorithms. Knowing what people are like helps them actually better with their jobs. For example, a creative thinker who is unreliable might be matched up with someone who's reliable but not creative. Knowing what people are like also allows us to decide what responsibilities to give them and to weigh our decisions based on people's merits. We call it their believability. Here's an example of a vote that we took where the majority of people felt one way, but when we weighed the views based on people's merits, the answer was completely different. This process allows us to make decisions not based on democracy, not based on autocracy, but based on algorithms that take people's believability into consideration. Yeah, we really did this. We do it because it eliminates what I believe to be one of the greatest tragedies of mankind, and that is people arrogantly, naively holding opinions in their minds that are wrong and acting on them and not putting them out there to stress test them. And that's a tragedy. And we do it because it elevates ourselves above our own opinions so that we start to see things through everybody's eyes and we see things collectively. Collective decision-making is so much better than individual decision-making if it's done well. It's been the secret sauce behind our success. It's why we made more money for our clients than any other hedge fund in existence. We made money 23 out of the last 26 years. So what's the problem with being radically truthful and radically transparent with each other? People say it's emotionally difficult. Critics say it's a formula for a brutal work environment. Neuroscientists tell me it has to do with how our brains are rewired. There's a part of our brain that would like to know our mistakes and like to look at our weaknesses so we can do better. I'm told that that's the prefrontal cortex. And then there's a part of our brain which views all of this as attacks. I'm told that that's the amygdala. In other words, there are two yous inside you. There's an emotional you and there's an intellectual you. And often they're at odds. And often they work against you. It's been our experience that we can win this battle. We win it as a group. It takes about 18 months typically to find that most people prefer operating this way, with this radical transparency, than to be operating in a more opaque environment. There's not politics, there's not the brutality of, all of that hidden behind the scenes. There's an hiding meritocracy where people can speak up. And that's been great. It's given us more effective work and it's given us more effective relationships. But it's not for everybody. We found something like 25 to 30% of the population it's just not for. And by the way, when I say radical transparency, I'm not saying transparency about everything. I mean, you don't have to tell somebody that their bald spine is growing or their baby's up. So I'm just talking about the important things. So, when you leave this room, I'd like you to observe yourself in conversations with others. Imagine if you knew what they were really thinking. And imagine if you knew what they were really like. And imagine if they knew what you were really thinking and what you were really like. It would certainly clear things up a lot. it's going to be wonderful. So I hope it is as wonderful for you as it is for me. Thank you very much.
What was your point?
You already answered you with the methodology how to achieve what you want.
Yes, that's why I wanted others to have feedback about my work, not just I focusing on what I am good at.
Yes, it gives out the methodology. It create a matrix, right? The dog, what's the name of it? The dog what? Right? The dog breed or dog what? You have watched it. It already tell us the methodology how to achieve it, to make a better decision. In the middle, it was talking about a meeting about how the Trump's presidency affect the United States economy, right? Maybe you go back and review about this video later. If you don't understand what it tells you.
Yes.
That was my point, what he said.
Yeah, but you haven't give out the methodology, right? But this guy, he's very successful and already give us a methodology that we can just follow. Do you
Testimony is just like a testimony.
Huh?
Testimony. Own experience. Testimony.
Yeah, this guy already give us the methodology that we need to achieve the goals that you set. Actually, it's not principle, it's a goal.
Yeah, that's
right?
what we're doing. Sometimes it's hard to understand.
So you need method to do it. You can't just believe something and then you try to do it. It will fail again and again and you feel very frustrated. And you will say that why should I do that?
Yeah, but my point is, what he told in his talk is what we were, that's what we were trying to say earlier.
Yes. That means it's very good and he already provide the methodology that you can build from him if you think he's not good enough.
He is good enough because he is successful. That's why we're trying to make this thing happen.
Can we proceed to the next one?
Yeah, I honor your opinion. Maybe I not honor you because I just present something that because
No, it's just because earlier you told me no.
told me
Yeah.
no
Yeah,
for
but yeah, we should
Proceed. So we can finish it.
I never say no, I just always say keep trying. If not good enough, just replace it or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, and then number 7.
Number 7. Of course, we have to consider each employee's ideas as valuable. And remember that there is nothing. So this explains that. Every idea is important. And number 8, I think.
Okay. Maybe we can try jotting down our own ideas in our notebooks, and then maybe someday it will be useful.
Yeah. Just
Just
write it down if you have any great ideas. Like you believe it's a great idea, you can write it down and we can study or talk with it. Why not?
So they just give a very simple message. You just give a score of it, and then you say something about it. Then you just give it score 3 or score 2. I think it's a bad idea. It can't make money in a short time. Or I think, oh, it's very great. I think that investor will just buy it. I know someone just will invest it. Because, yeah, it depends, right? So, just like that. Do you know?
Yeah, maybe we can do that during meetings.
Like,
We can apply that.
maybe for that we do.
I think it's better we just use like Excel, right? So we can collaborate on the Excel sheet that we can just fill it first. and then we review it in the meetings also. Because we don't have a laptop or something like that, we do it.
My number 8, be aware of employees' unspoken feelings. So we have to be careful in what we say, because we don't know how the person feels, if he is or she's emotionally.
Like, for example, if a person did something, then
Offensive words like that.
maybe he works, or he or she works on that certain project with all he or she can, and then we suddenly, by not you're not aware that you was able, or you said any offensive words to the person who did the project. I don't know.
But it will have some conflict with previous points, right? Because if we need to open criticize and transparency, we need to eliminate about the feelings. Actually, why do you put feeling into work and business? You just eliminate it will be okay. You don't need to say you are good or bad or wrong or why. Because you see, if you have a grade, somebody saying you are good, somebody saying you are bad, somebody saying you are correct, somebody saying you are wrong. So there's no standard of it. You can say nothing about it.
For number 8, like the one in the video, he said that is your opinion right? A question for yourself. So if you put it on your feelings, if you put it on yourself, you will not have that kind of feelings. Because in this world, it's all for professionals. And when we put our feelings, it's considered as unprofessional.
Yeah, something like that. You either hide your feelings, or you pretend to have no feelings, or train yourself to have no feelings. We need to be objective.
Maybe emotions.
You can, because you are a designer, you need all kinds of emotions and feelings. Yeah, usually artists need the feelings, right?
Always.
Because they train their right brain, and if you play more music or something like that, your right brain will be more developed than the left brain. The left brain is for logical, and the right brain is for emotional and feeling.
My brain is always not functioning. Even the left.
Do you need us to do some surgery?
Okay, proceeding for the number 9. Be clear when communicating. Be careful to clarify their meanings. So, I think this happens to us. We don't communicate easily. No, napunta saan? Explain mo na.
Yeah, right now I think we have communication problems, and then maybe we should think of ways to improve that. It will take time, but we should always try.
I mean, because we are just new team, that's why we are still looking for that.
Yeah, and
It's not about time. Usually, it's a good thing to try,
Yeah.
and we need to do
Let's go beer now. I mean, we can talk while we're here.
So, and then encourage team members to share information, emphasize the importance of each team member's contribution, and demonstrate how all their jobs operate together to move the entire team closer to its goal. So we need to support each other, like we have to be encourage each one of us. For example, Lester did a logo, then we have to give feedback that
You know what? For example, the logo lacks on this figure, this color needs to be changed. Try to change like this.
But it
Inputs.
should have some restriction or scolding. Scolding.
Scope.
Scold. Yes, you have some scold. So if Dancy asks you, just give you some code for you to review, can you review it?
No.
No. Why? Why do you require Dancy to criticize on your logo? Why don't Dancy require you to review his code? So it's unfair. So you know, it should be called scolding.
Oh, yeah. It depends on the situation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because for me, I don't know coding, that's why. But I can see the UI or the interface.
Yeah. So I think it has some issue about these things. We need to have more research or practice to achieve a better outcome.
Wait, for
Keep
number 10, every meeting, if you have some ideas, you should always speak up. Because I think most of the time you are shy, maybe scared, that your ideas are going to be rejected. But regardless of that one, I encourage you to share your opinions, even if others may
Criticize.
yeah, others may criticize you. Alright. So this will be the last one. I will share this to you later. If you have any more suggestions, you can always add it in this file. And then for number 11, we don't assume that something is meant in a negative way. We check our assumptions. Maybe they are giving feedback on our works. We should always check ourselves in accepting criticisms. Just like that. But remember, we should always try. We can always adjust. Alright? Okay?
Yeah, you can fast forward, right? Fast forward.
Yeah, MC suggested that we have some team activities. Yeah, it's like
I think we have to watch it next meeting because it's already time.
yeah, like maybe you can check later. We have to maybe try some games, some icebreakers.
So we can watch that while we are working, right? I mean, we can watch those.
Icebreaker. So who fear? Who? Why not?
What?
Who are shy? Who are fear to say something that?
Just don't have any.
If you just focus and listen to what they say, you can just give your own opinion. That would be enough. But if you didn't listen what they say, you can't have a proper feedback for them. Just like that. We already know that there's no good or bad. Actually, we accept everything, but you will have low score or high score from other people. That doesn't mean anything, or it doesn't mean something. But it will happen eventually, not today, but you can wait that you will be the most successful people in the world, and then you try to say something that everybody listen to you. That's not reasonable. So you need to say it today. And why? What do you say about other people? What do you do? Why do you?
I just open my water.
Like Anna.
What?
Okay. Are we done? I think these are not the principles that I wanted. I want
Is it
I want
definitely
principle. I want the development as well. You see,
What?
all kind of activity and all kind of workflows that we can save time, save resource, even that you are talking about ask people the opinion in the meeting, right? Even this kind of activity we can keep optimizing, right? So that's the principle or rules that we set. If something saying that the rule about it is not good enough, we optimize it out.
For example, like before, what Sir Dewey said to me is keep it simple as much as possible. Maybe that's a good principle.
Well,
Right.
this is only a draft that we presented to you so that
So
you can have.
don't worry, don't worry. I'm not judging. I am judging, but I'm not okay. But you need to self-defend yourself. I get that worse is that, but I can understand. But
that was the reason why we presented it to you.
I'm very open, so we just try.
Alright.
But if something wrong, actually you can easily sense it, right? If you have some kind of